All right, here we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so basically this is a class, training, or whatever you want to call it, to really get some clarity around basically our personal vision. You know, we use the buzzword a lot here at Keller Williams called our big why. And so this is just a class to kind of dive into that a little bit, to explore that a little bit, and kind of create a map to figure out what that is for you. Why is it that we get up every day and do what we do? And just get some clarity around that. And you know, there's different ways to, I'm gonna put this down, I don't like that. You know, there's different ways to go about doing that. And that's what we're gonna kind of do today. I actually met with Ruthie a while back and we were talking about it. It's just like, you know, what is it, you know, what's our, you know, how do we determine what our personal vision is? What is it we want to do? And then how do we, if we identify that? Sometimes that comes easier for some. We know what that is, but for some of us, we may be at different points, crossroads, roads. So today, what today's going to be is just kind of, we're going to go over some tools and some strategies around identifying what that is, discovering what that is. Once you have that, then what is the map? What's the roadmap to make it happen? Like I said in my Facebook video, you know, if we've got that and we don't have a plan around making that personal vision happen, then it could be just kind of like, hey, it'd be cool if this happened. And I hope it does. One thing that I've learned through this company and thinking differently and thinking at a higher level, Gary Keller and Linda McKissick and all the people that, you know, have taught me, have taught us, is to think differently, to think bigger. I'm gonna pause. If y'all can mute yourself, if that's possible. If you're on Zoom, go ahead and mute yourself. So we're gonna dive into that. So the things that we're gonna do today, number one is we're gonna get clarity around our personal vision. So we're going to talk about that and steps to get clarity around our personal vision. Then we're going to review what I call the 6 steps to nailing it, or 6 steps to being successful, 6 steps to just basically making things happen. And then we're going to dive deep into probably the biggest tool that we're going to spend the most time on is what we call the GPS. So once you've identified that vision, once you've identified that one goal, that's the goal, okay? And then the P is the priorities. What are 3 priorities that if you do, well, that goal will happen? And then the S are the strategies. So that's what the GPS stands for. And then the S is 5 strategies for each priority. And then those 5 strategies basically end up being your daily activities every day. And that's where the tool of the 411 comes into play. So the GPS, we also call it the 135. 1 goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies. And the 5 strategies, you use a tool of the 411. Okay, so we're going to go over those tools pretty detailed, and I'm going to show you how to use those and how they work together. That's going to be a big part of the day, because really that's where we get hung up sometimes, is we're not clear on the path. Okay, the GPS, why it's called the GPS, is the path. It is the roadmap, but you got to build that roadmap because it's different for everybody. So whatever your one big goal is, or what it is your vision is for your life and what you want to accomplish, you've got to create a map to get there. Otherwise, you know, it's just kind of a hope. And then that's where it gets fun, because then you wake up every single day and you're like, okay, now I know what to do. Okay. A lot of times we spend more time planning our vacations, our trip to, you know, I'm a big Disney fan, our trips to Disney World, a big trip out west. We spend more time and energy, which is great, because that's part of living, but we spend more time and energy planning that than we do stopping and pausing and planning what we want our life to be. And that's why BOLD is such a great class and training that we do. BOLD Pivot's getting ready to start again, so that's something you can look at after this. But BOLD stands for Business Objectives, Life by Design. Okay, that's what BOLD stands for. When Donna Kokoska wrote that. And the biggest part of that, in my opinion, is the life by design. Okay? Majority of people probably just wake up and they live their life and they're going and they're reacting. Okay? The life by design part is the part that if we're purposeful about it, we get to, I mean, that's what's so great about this life is we get to design really what we want it to be. And there's all kinds of things coming at us, but we get to make the decision on how we react and handle all the things that are coming at us. And we've got a plan, and we're feeding ourselves full of a lot of great things and ways to handle things and self-improvement and creating a growth plan for yourself on making yourself better, learning as much as you can. Then we're able to design our life very purposefully around what it is that we want. So today, you may be real clear about what it is you want. And that's awesome. You're just, maybe a little bit ahead. But whether you're here today and you're like, I sell houses, the majority of us are in real estate or some type of sales. But if it's, if you wake up each day and you're like, hey, I sell houses to make a living, great. But what can we do? What if we thought differently? And this is what some of the exercises I'm going to go over today are going to help you do, to really look at yourself, what you're passionate about, in your life, with others, with charities, with whatever that may be for you, and really get clear about what are some things that maybe I'm not even thinking about yet in my life, that maybe if I take the time to go through some of these exercises, to really stop, take a half-day retreat, go someplace and just reflect, use this tool, that one of the tools that I gave you today. This here, we got this off the One Thing website, Discover Your One Thing Now. This packet alone, if you take a full day or a half a day and you go through this, that's why I wanted to give you this and print this out for you so you can take it home. This is really kind of your homework, because this dives deep into getting clear around the things that we're going to talk about, and kind of help self-discover, maybe your personal vision for yourself. And that could be for yourself, it could be for yourself and your family, it could be for others, it could be for something you're passionate about. So that's where it gets fun. But we do have to stop and pause and plan. Otherwise, we may just be waking up and kind of doing our day-to-day and getting through the day, and we wake up the next day and do it all over again. But if you kind of identify, gosh, what is it that I want? I've got this blank canvas in front of me. I've got the same amount of hours in the day that Mark Cuban does, that, what's his name, Tesla, Elon Musk has, Not that you want that kind of big, but maybe you do. Or maybe it's just, something or someone you admire that's done some amazing things. You've got that blank canvas in front of you right now today. So today I want to kind of just talk about that and challenge you to pause, think about that, and just and look at that blank canvas. It may already have some paint on it. It may already have some drawings on it, but is there some things that you can do that just excite you, that kind of get you excited about every day waking up and taking action on some of the things and taking action on your plan. It's funny, I was talking to my dad the other day at breakfast, and I was telling him about this is kind of what I really enjoy talking about and teaching about. And I was trying to explain to him this concept of your vision and stuff. And I was like, Dad, why do you get up every day? What is it that you want to do? Why do you get up every day? And he goes, well, first of all, I got to pee. I thought that was pretty funny. But beyond that, it's just what this class is kind of in today's kind of about. So we're going to talk about steps to get clarity around your personal vision. We're going to review the 6 steps to nailing it in business, and the 135 and your GPS. We're going to get into the 411, which is the tool to execute your GPS. Okay. The thing that I see the most challenging, that's been the most challenging for me with the GPS and the 135 and the 411 is using it every day. You know, I'll have my GPS and my plan together. It's very clear. But what I realized is it was just a document in a folder, 8 folders in my computer. And I wasn't looking at it every day. You know, so I've taken the step now through some training that I listened to and printed that out. Now it's in my bathroom. Well, Patrick Woods, who's an OP team leader, really great guy out in California. He's got his GPS laminated in his shower. I'm going to do that. But, you know, where else do you have 5 to 8 minutes, you know, uninterrupted where you can, you know, review at the start of your day? I just thought that was a great idea. So we're going to talk about the 411 and how it works with the GPS. And then basically what that looks like. And once you got those together, that's really what I call your vision document. And then you've got that. And then it's just looking at it all the time. And then like I'm changing mine every week. It's like, oh, you know, I need to do this right now, or I need to focus on this. And so we're going to get in that a little bit. So pull up your, this right here, where it says discover your one thing now. And I'll scroll this up here. So, oh, okay, yeah. Does anybody else need one? Everybody else got one? Nicole and whoever else is online, I'll put a comment in there and I'll make sure I get you all one. But this is one of the things that, you know, Ruth, if I can use you as an example, as we were talking, it's like, you know, where do you start? Where do you start to kind of dive in and discover? And I was like, you know, that's a good question. I was like, I couldn't think of it right top of my head. So I went in and I did some research and started looking at some other resources. I did a Facebook post on one of the Keller Williams groups, and boom, I got all these different ideas. And one of the tools we're going to go over to help discover that is in this packet. And then there's also a tool here. It's kind of an exercise to help dive into that. So basically, it's just pausing, taking some time, and going in there and going through these questions. Like number 1 says, off the top of your head, list 4 to 5 specific activities you're passionate about in the following box. You know, so it's just kind of a brainstorm and just kind of diving in and just kind of, what is it I'm passionate about? What is it that I like? You know, and then it's like, you know, so then when we identify those things, you know, maybe it's one of those things takes, you know, what if it's, I want to start a nonprofit that I'm passionate about. I've got this idea for a nonprofit and I would love to make that happen. I don't necessarily want to do it, but I would love to fund it. Okay, well, in order to fund it, what do I need? I need money. Okay, so I need money. What do I need to do? So this is, you know, so that's where the GPS comes in. So, but first you've got to determine, what's my vision? What's my passion? What is it I want to do? And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It doesn't have to be, I want to solve world hunger. You know, maybe I just want, I want Clark County to know that no child never has to go without food or a meal at night. You know, I think that's a doable goal. Somehow create a program, a charity, that the community knows that there's a meal for as many kids as that you need. Now that's a big goal, that's pretty big, but I think it's doable if we're thinking big enough. So then, you know, then it's creating a plan around that. In the plan around that, maybe for the first 5 years, I got to sell a crap ton of houses because that's going to give me the money that I'm going to need to develop this. Okay, so it may start with not, you know, action 1, I need to create the plan for the nonprofit. It may be, I need to sell a lot of real estate for the first 5 years, then generate revenue to then buy rental properties, which is going to generate more revenue. Now, all of a sudden, you know, or it's I want to build a real estate team or whatever it may be so I can spend more time on something I'm passionate about. So we're not talking about a 1-year goal today. We're talking about a 5, 10, 15-year goal. I call it our life GPS. I think so many times we create a plan around our real estate sales business. and I'm spending all my time on real estate sales, or I'm going to create a plan around my insurance business. I'm going to create a plan around my music consulting business, whatever that may be, which is important, okay? But why are we doing that? Why are we selling houses? Why are we selling insurance? Why are we doing music? We know, but that's where we don't, I don't think a lot of times we don't stop long enough to really look at, why am I doing that? Because of this. That's what I want you to kind of pause, take some time in the next 7 days, step away, use this resource, and get some real clarity around your vision and what you want. Okay. Then you get to wake up every single day with a little passion. And then when you got your map drawn out, which I'm going to take you through how to do, then you know exactly what you got to do every day. Okay, that's the 411. The 411 is the tool. Those are your must-dos. What should I do every single day to make my 3 priorities happen, which is going to make my 1 thing happen? Okay. So this is an exercise, to just kind of help you determine your vision. So on page 5, so that's something I kind of, if you, after this, you want to go out and do that. And then exercise 2, same thing. It's just questions to kind of get you thinking and pause. Even if you don't use this, just take 2 hours and a blank sheet of paper and listen to some music and just kind of reflect on, hey, what do I want in 10 years? What do I want to have accomplished in 10 years? Okay. Once you have that, then you get to create your plan to make it happen. Because if you have that and you put no plan around it, it's a wish. It may or may not happen. Once you have that, you want to, hopefully you want to make it happen. So let's put a plan on it. So that's where we're going to dive into that. All right. So that's kind of the first part. The other tool that I found, Ruthie, and was probably the biggest bit of feedback that I got through the Facebook post, was a section of the training called Career Visioning. Career Visioning is the Keller Williams course on finding talent for a role, basically. So it's kind of an interview process. And Keller Williams probably has the most extensive interview process for specific roles in all industries. But on the first page of, on the second page of the page that says 6 Steps to Nailing in Business, it says number 4, Motivational Interview. Okay. This is typically something that the interviewer would do with the person interviewing for the role, but you can do this yourself. And it's just a 2-page short, step-by-step, but you basically pick 4 sectors of your life. 3 are chosen for you, and then you get to pick the other, or 2 are chosen for you, then you get to pick the other 2 priorities. So for your job, what is it that, basically the questions are, in 5 years, for you to say, with what you've been doing in your job, was just awesome. You're like, if you put yourself 5 years from today, and in 5 years, you're like, man, that past 5 years in my job that I'm doing, which may be selling real estate, selling insurance or whatever, was just awesome. What has to happen? And for what does that look like? What does that feel like for you to be able to say that the last 5 years was just awesome? So then what that does is you're starting to paint a picture of what you want that next 5 years to look like in the sector of your job. Then you do that with money. Okay, so in 5 years, to be where you want to be financially and with money, for you to say in 5 years, man, it's awesome. I'm exactly where I wanted to be 5 years ago today. And then you start painting that picture. It's, my house is paid off. I have 0 debt. I don't use credit cards. I've got savings started for my kids. Then you start painting that picture. All of a sudden, what you're doing by doing this exercise, which is probably the most emotional part of the interview. I mean, I've seen this And it brought me, I've seen this bring people to tears, okay? Now you're getting deep into purpose, to vision, and designing your life, okay? It's so cool. So then the other cool thing is you get to pick priority 3 and priority 4. What else is important to you? One that's really popular is family. In 5 years, and these are the questions that you go through for each category. Okay, so this is just another tool. So there's the tool in this workbook here that I shared, and this is just another tool. So priority 3 may be family. So in 5 years, well, here's one of the questions. Question 1: what has to happen in the family dimension of your life for you to be able to say awesome 5 years from now? Then you go in, how do you envision that? What would it mean for that to happen? Then you get into, hey, what's that mean? Then why would that achievement be important to you? How would that make you feel? Oh my gosh, I'm debt-free. Got savings in the bank that I never thought that I would have. You know, what's that feel like? So what you're doing is you're painting that picture. I'll tell you a story of one of my coaches. He challenged me with getting clarity around something. And, you know, well, I'll tell you real quick, it was just like, you know, we were just basically talking about our one thing. And, you know, I said what my one thing was, and he goes, okay, what's that mean? I'm like, I don't know, it means this. He's like, so what? Like, what's that mean? What's that do for you? And it was during the midst of COVID, and just shut down. You know, I'm sitting at home, I'm like, golly, I'm not that clear about that. I've rattled it off for 10 years, but I didn't get into what's that going to do for me? What's that going to do for my family? What's that going to do for others? What's that going to feel like when it does happen? So I did that exercise. I just kind of paused and I just started writing, like, this happens, then I'm going to feel this. And then all of a sudden, what that did is it caused me to be like, holy crap, I cannot not let this happen. And then it was like, I got 5 years. So it's like now, or it's like, you know, every day counts at this point. And then I also realized, I was like, okay, well, I think that can still happen. So, but what that question, what my coach challenged me at that was, is it really, and that's what this does. It just really gets you looking deep at what you want out of life, what you want for others, what you want to do, and making it real to where you feel it. Gary Keller always said, he said, you know, because Gary's got a pretty big life. Okay? He's got a lot going on. And it's just, I've just always admired him, respected him and his vision and stuff. But I've heard him say a couple of times that he says, if people truly knew what they could accomplish, and by accomplishing it, what it feels like, he goes, they would do everything. They would crawl, they would scrape, they would just do anything in their power to make sure that happens. I think sometimes there's a disconnect, and we're not that clear about what that's going to feel like, what that's going to do, what that's going to impact in a big way, that we're okay with it not happening, okay? But what happens if we get to the point where we're not okay with it not happening? And it's just like, oh, you know, I picture what that's going to feel like. I felt what that's going to feel like, and I'm going to make that happen. So then it's putting the tools in place and taking the action on the things that's going to make it happen. So that's just another tool. That's called the motivational interview, and it's just going through a series of that. So job, money. Some people pick family, and maybe, you know, something else. You know, nonprofit. You know, start a nonprofit. And then you just kind of, this exercise kind of gets you into visualizing it. So that's number one. I mean, it's just, before you can really create your life 135, you can create a 135 about your sales business and your sales goals. You can create a 135 about a health journey. You can create a GPS really around anything, okay? So basically, in my opinion, we have a life GPS. We build a life 135. Okay, and then the priorities, the 3 priorities that make the one thing happen. Each of the priorities really could probably have a 135. So let's say generating the income that you want to generate through selling real estate, since that's the majority of what one of those dudes does. Then at that point, okay, what is my one thing in real estate? Okay, let's say I'm going to make a net $150,000 a year in real estate. Okay, so that's suddenly your one. What are 3 things that's going to make that happen? I'll sell this many listings. My database is at 2,000 people on a 36 touch, and then whatever a third priority would be. Then you create the 5 steps for each of those priorities. Now all of a sudden you've got a 135 for your real estate business, which you should probably have. But a lot of times we don't go beyond that and create the 135 about our life. Does that make sense? Any ahas real quick? Anything jump out at you? Any ideas or any ahas right now, just with what we're talking about? Okay. All right. So let's keep going.
I like the part about disconnect. When you said that, we could visualize and see it.
Yeah.
We knew what the accomplishment looked like. We could do whatever we needed to do to get it.
Yeah. And a lot of times, one of the things that keeps us from doing that, it's probably the biggest thing that keeps us from doing that, and that's limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves. Limiting beliefs that other people put on ourselves, or that put on us, which just, suppresses that feeling and that vision of what actually can be. You got to fight through all that stuff. You got to learn things. You got to read things. You got to put yourself in bold classes. You got to put yourself in trainings like this to keep that mindset right. Because man, stuff can get in our head, especially right now through all this crap that we're going through and everything that's going on right now. I mean, now more than ever, it's probably one of the hardest times in everybody's life. I mean, it's disrupting a lot of things. So now more than ever, we got to keep our mindset right. And like you said, I think that's a great aha, is if we can really visualize and picture what it is that we want and realize that that's a reality because we get to design our life. That's a good first step. So thanks, CJ, for that. All right. So those are some tools. Those are some ways to do what we need to do first. And that's to get some clarity around our vision. Okay. So this is just something I always talk about. Really, this is more tied into real estate, or is just, you turn the front page here. It says 6 steps to nailing it. Okay. So this is really anything, but particularly business, particularly real estate. And I just kind of want to make this a part. I like to make this a part of any trainings that I do, because this is what I think. It's based on a lot of things out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, a lot of success books and being successful. But these are 6 things that I feel that is just really important to making things happen in your business. And that's number 1, okay, is know our why. Okay. So let's just use real estate as an example. That's what most of us do. Well, it's kind of the thing we just talked about. Why are we doing this? Why do I sell houses? Okay, hopefully it's probably to make some money because I got to live. But when you're real clear about your why, then you know why real estate's important, or whatever it is that you're doing to generate revenue, to maybe fund that big life, to fund that charity, or whatever that may be, or your vision. So just selling houses to sell houses is still good. But when you've got a vision and purpose and a why around it, now you've got a reason why. So number 1, I think for anything to be successful, you got to be real clear about your why. Number 2 is you've got to have the discipline. If I could spell, no spell check on whiteboards. You got to have the discipline. And I don't like the word discipline. I think a better word is habits. Okay. You got to develop habits, okay, the habits of success. So the first habit really you've got to master is time management. Okay, if we can't manage our time, because we all have 24 hours in the day, we got to sleep, then you got a certain, then you got 12 hours, let's say. You can be unproductive and non-purposeful and not following your map and go through day to day. You can still be happy and do all that, but we got to have the discipline to develop the right habits. And the number one habit we got to do first is we got to control our time. So time management, control your time. Time is the most valuable thing you own. Then in real estate, let's just take real estate or other industries and stuff as well, is, I like the word dialogue. And really, you can say scripts, but basically, what do I say? Okay, so if you're going to sell houses, what do you say? We don't sell houses for a living as real estate agents. We generate leads, we generate people who need to buy or sell a house. The selling the house is just what happens. That's the byproduct, because we don't get to sell the house unless we have the buyer or the seller. So really every day we wake up, I always say we wake up unemployed in real estate every day, and it's our job to find that next lead. We need to find that buyer who wants to buy a house or a seller who wants to sell a house. And we need to find the client who needs insurance, or we need to find so we can, help them. So we got, in order to do that, we got to know how to say, what to say to help someone with what they need. So you got to know the dialogue. So if I'm calling somebody that's trying to sell their house on their own for sale by owner, if you don't spend the time learning what to say to a for sale by owner, it's a good chance you're not going to be effective. But if you study what to say and how to ask the right questions to help them identify, hey, I might be able to make you more money by hiring a realtor. And I'm that realtor, so that's not just going to magically come out of your mouth unless you spend time reading and learning or going to a class on what are good questions to ask a for sale by owner. Do you think that those good questions are out there somewhere? So we tend to spend the time to dive in and look at those and study those. So know your why, develop the habits, manage your time, block the time. Hey, an hour a day, I'm going to research what to say and how to say it effectively. And then what we have to do, then we have to block the time. That's why time comes first. Then we have to block the time to say it. Okay? Well, that's called lead generation. Lead gen. We got to block the time to learn the skills to be most effective, to then block the time to say the things to generate the business. And the thing that really pulls it all together, and this is probably the thing that's the hardest, and I love the story I want to end with on this section, is, this is number 6, and this is probably, they're all important, but this is probably the most important, that's accountability. What is going to hold you accountable to doing the things here, to following your GPS, to following each strategy for each priority in your GPS? What's going to hold you accountable to making that happen? The 411 is a great tool. There's your accountability tool. How do you add a layer of accountability? Get an accountability partner. You hire a coach. You say, here's my 411. I'm going to get it to you every Monday at 9 o'clock. And then I'm going to send it to you at the end of the week that I did all my must-dos, the most important things, which are the priorities. And if I don't do it, here's a $500 check that you're going to send to my biggest competitor. That could be, that's accountability. So the accountability, is what makes all this happen. And I was meeting with a brand new agent one time. It was the coolest thing. And I was sharing this information about building a successful real estate business. And when I went over the accountability part, it was the coolest thing. I remember like it was yesterday. This gets to the beginning of what we just talked about. He goes, well, accountability, he goes, isn't that this? Your why? I was like, oh, that's deep. Like, being clear about your why is what holds you accountable to picturing that, to feeling that, and really knowing what that can feel like when that happens. When you're clear on your why, that's what should hold you accountable to making this stuff happen. Because this is what's going to create it. These things is what's going to create it in the real estate or your business. You know, I mean, take this principles for real estate business or whatever type of business you're in. You may have to tweak it a little bit, but I thought that was so cool. But your accountability is what you're trying to create with your personal vision. So I thought that was pretty awesome. All right, so we talked about getting clarity on your vision, some tools around that, the 6 steps, which we just went over. So now what I want to get into is let's get real specific on how the 1-3-5 works, okay? So I'm going to show you that real quick. Any questions? While I wipe this off? Okay. All right, so GPS. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go into a specific example for a 1-3-5. GPS 1-3-5. So that's 1. Okay, what's the goal? Then 1, 2, 3. Okay, what are the priorities? And then for each priority, so for priority 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Priority 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've got a template for you just as an example. I just like using a Word document and just writing it out that way. I've got a bunch of pages if I want to make it big and really detailed. And then your third priority, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So now what you do, so let's take a goal. Okay. So let's say you went through your exercise, you got some clarity, and you're like, okay, let's use that example I said. I want it to be clear that in Clark County, that it's communicated to every family in Clark County that if a child needs a meal, there is always one available through this charity that I want to create. Okay. Let's say that's the 10-year vision. Okay. So let's say it's a 10-year or 15-year goal. So I'm just going to write here charity. Clark County Hunger. Okay. All of a sudden, that's my vision. Okay. Real estate's going to be a part of it in this example. Okay. You're a real estate sales agent, and real estate's going to be a part of making that happen. There's different ways to make it happen. If you did sell real estate, it could just be, I just need to generate money. So my priority is going to be how to generate $2 million to start this charity. Then that's a purpose. But in this example, I'm going to use real estate as one of the priorities. Okay. So that's a main goal, for your personal vision. My personal vision is I want to impact my local community in that way. So let's say that's an example for an individual as in this example. Okay. So then you got to identify what are 3 things that will cause that to happen. By doing these 3 things, that is going to happen. And I'm kind of developing this as I go. So you're getting a real example of how you would kind of do this, because I don't know what this is going to end up looking like at the end, which is kind of fun. All right. So, you got to identify a little bit more and get a little deeper here, like what's that going to involve? That may be, I want to launch that charity with, $2 million in the charity account. Okay. So, we all know starting a charity like that is, it's going to take money. So it may be, okay, I'm going to start this charity, and when I start it, we're going to have $2 million in reserves to hire staff, hire the director, hire, the support staff, one support staff person, or whatever, and we're going to start strong. In order to make this really effective, we're going to start with $2 million. Okay, so all of a sudden you're getting a little more clarity around your vision. So now you need to know what needs to be accomplished. So let's just use real estate, for example. So then you identify, and I think this is kind of cool. You identify, so what's one priority, and Linda McKissick said this, any one of these priorities, if any one of them happens, could make your goal happen. So let's say I'm going to do a real estate, I want to build a real estate business that generates $200,000 a year, which is then going to allow you to start creating a reserve. And maybe of that $200,000, in the next 10 years, $50,000 goes into the kitty to build your $2 million. So let's say it's a 10-year plan. I can't do the math real quick, but let's say it's $50,000 a year for 10 years. Then you've got your money to do what you want to do. Okay. So let's just start with the first priority, and then go into the 5 action items. Right. So then what are the strategies to sell real estate at this level? Okay. So strategy 1 may be, I need to get, so this is more kind of strategy for the year, like what I need to do this year for this one goal, because it may be a 10-year goal, is I'm going to have 1,500 people in my database with full contact on a 36 touch. Okay. By that happening, it's going to generate business. So that's a strategy. Okay. Strategy 2 may be, I'm going to meet with a non-profit specialist. Maybe someone that runs a nonprofit, just to learn about starting a nonprofit, so you can start, what would you do differently that now that I should do is I want to start a nonprofit? So that may be an action item for that. So then, then you go back to the real estate. That's a little off from the real estate priority, but then it may be, open bank account. Well, no, that's more of the steps to make that happen. This is about the priority of selling real estate and generate 200,000 gross, where you're going to take 50,000 of it and start building up the reserves. So basically, these priorities are all about building a real estate business that sells something that's measurable, that generates $200,000. So that's going to be, I'm going to identify a system around taking 5 listings a month. So basically, what you do here for this one priority, what do you need to do in the next 12 months that's going to cause this to happen? Okay. Now, if this happens every year for 10 years, and you take $50,000 and put it in the kitty, you're well on your way to this. Okay. So just this one priority alone is going to cause this to happen. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's basically, what's the big goal? What's a priority that's going to make that goal happen? And then what are 5 strategies that I need to focus on this year to make that happen? Then those 5 strategies, that's what you wake up and do every day. Okay, so I got to sell real estate, but as for the must-dos on my 411, which we're going to get into here in just a second, is I need to build my database. Okay, so in order to build a database, I got to block the time to go in there and build my database, or hire someone to do it, or whatever I need to do to build that database. So every day, Monday to, so Monday may be database day. Hey, whole day Monday, I don't do anything else. I don't show houses, I don't list houses. Monday's database day. Every Monday, 52 weeks a year, except for vacation and holidays, I'm working on my database because that's my strategy, one of my 5 strategies to make this happen. And then all of a sudden, every day you're working on one of these. Not, it may be, some of them may just be once a month, but you've got the whole year. And then at the end of the year, you should, if you're disciplined, if you manage your time, if you're holding yourself accountable or find a way to hold yourself accountable, then by the end of the year, you've accomplished your 5 strategies. And then you're on your way to hitting your priority. From experience, I'll tell you, if you're not looking at this every day, and sometimes I'll look at my 135, it's like, oh, that was a great idea. Too bad I've never taken action on it. Too bad I've never worked on that strategy, which is going to hit my priority. Then I realize, I'm behind on making my priority a reality. My age 50 goal, holy crap, it's going to be 54 years old, not 50. That's where I was saying, it's like, holy crap, I got 5 years left. Because my personal vision is, something about 50. So it's like, okay, it's game time. So that's kind of the strategy. So then you identify, okay, what's the second priority to making this a reality? Okay, I think, so this gets into where I started to go is, let's say, okay, I got it. Charity business plan. Complete. All right, so let's say priority 2 is I've got the charity built out. It's documented, it's written out, finances, budget, accounting, roles, organizational chart. In 5 years, I want that to be done for when I launch it in 10 years. So then at that point, what are the 5 strategies to make that happen? Strategy 1 would be more, I meet with someone who's built several nonprofits. That would be strategy 1. So in the year of 2021, I'm going to meet with a nonprofit director once a month. We were talking about coaching the other day, mentors, once a month for 12 months. We'll take them to lunch, and I'm just going to research it. And, what do I need to do? Then I'm going to create the organizational chart. So strategy 2, I'm going to draft out in 2021. At the end of the year, I'm going to have my organizational chart of what I think my charity is going to look like. Strategy 3 for that, whatever it is, maybe. What's the difference? I want to find out the demographics of children in Clark County and learn my research around that. Because what that's going to do is you got to do that before you can do your main goal. So you're creating your priority is one of them. So then another may be, all right, okay, so here's the third one. So we got a real estate business that I can do now that's going to build up my kitty. It's going to build up my personal money that I'm going to invest. I'm going to start my priority of really planning it out of what that charity is going to look like. And I'm going to do that for the next 5 years. You do that for 5 years. You think in 5 years you might have a solid plan. And then number 3 would be a donor strategy. It's called donor. Donor strategy. All right, so I've got to sustain that as well, because in 10 years, I don't want to sell real estate. I want to devote 100% of my time to my charity. In order to do that, I still need to generate money. So then I want to create a donor strategy that funds the annual budget, which you developed because you've got your business plan put together. So you know what your budget is. I don't know what that would cost, but let's say it's at $250,000. That can be totally off. to run that charity and provide that service. So then you create priorities that's going to develop a donor base, pledges, dinners, galas, whatever that's going to be, that's going to fund that charity for the rest of your life. Endowments, it's like, how do you start an endowment? Holy cow, it's pretty complicated. But I know people who've done it. I know two people very well who mastered that. I think in 5 years I could learn how to do that, or generate enough money, hire them to do it. So now all of a sudden, because I've taken the time to dig deep to go through these exercises of building my personal vision and what I want to do, now I've got a plan and a map to follow. That's what's so cool about the GPS. That's what's so cool about the 135. And it doesn't change that much once you've got it. Now, here's the thing, it could throw you off. Your vision, your personal vision for yourself and what you want to do, that could change on a dime. And that's okay. You could think that that's what it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's not really what I want to do. That's okay. So yeah, whatever that is, but then all of a sudden, what you've got is the GPS around that. So if you turn to, right here, the GPS, this page right here. That's just kind of an outline. Like, this wouldn't work for me, but this just kind of gives you the basics of a 135. Okay. All right. Any questions around the 135? Any clarity needed there? Do you have to? You don't necessarily have to. No, I don't think you have to. Actually, I've got on my 135. I was just looking at it yesterday. In one section of it, I had 1, I had 2, I had 3, and 4 and 5. I said to be determined. Okay. So I think that really kind of depends on where you are. But even the 3 is a lot. I mean, if you got 3 priorities you're working on and each of them has 5, that's 15 things. That's where the 411 comes into play. Now, the 411 is probably the most important tool in all of this, because you can have this here, the 135, you can have that just looking so pretty. You read it, you're all inspired, and this is awesome. But if you don't execute the strategies, it becomes a wish again. So it's very easy for your 135 to remain a wish. Okay, that's where the accountability comes in. That's where the 411 comes in. So let's talk about the 411. And I didn't know whether to give you all 3 of them. Okay, same tool. I gave you 3 examples in your book. Okay, I like the first one personally. It's just a Word document, and I can make it as long as I want. Now, Gary Keller likes to see everything on one page. Because if you can't get on one page, it just becomes too much. So you kind of want your 411 to be on one page. And he would probably even say that your personal 411 for your personal life and your personal goals, relationships, should also just fit on one page along with your business. Now, I'm usually bleeding over to page 2 because I like details and specifics and clarity. So sometimes I get a little carried away with details. But this is so let's kind of go over an example of the 411. Actually, let's take a quick break. Is that cool? Take a 5-minute bathroom break, drink. I'll pause the recording, and then we'll start back up. Okay. All right. So we talked about the GPS, 135, 1 vision, 3 priorities, 5 strategies, 3 priorities. So then you got so let's take one of the priorities. Let's just say, generating $200,000 a year in real estate. So let's create a 411 around your real estate business. So 411. Okay, so the 1, let's go backwards. So 1, 1, 4. Okay. So for real estate, okay, the 1 is, it's still wet. All right, so the 1 goal for real estate in the 411, so it's 1 year, what do I need to do in that, what's the 1 year goal? What do I need to accomplish in that month to move me closer to my 1 year goal? And what are 4 weeks? So what do I need to do week 1? So let's say it's January, first week of January, that's week 1. Week 2, week 3, and week 4. So the 411 is a weekly tool to knock out the strategies, to knock out your strategy for that priority. Does that make sense? It sounds like a lot, but the 411 is a weekly tool that basically is your weekly plan to do what we call in the 1 thing. If you haven't read the book, The 1 Thing, read that book. It's amazing. But the 1 Thing talks about your must-dos, okay? So let's say it's, the annual goal we said was 200,000. We're going to say net, after expenses, $200,000 a year net. Okay, that's your annual goal. Okay, and you may be like, okay, that is selling, I don't know what it is, but let's say it's selling 65 homes. You may not do that by yourself, you may do that with somebody on your team or whatever, but let's say it's 65 homes. So that's all of a sudden in your 411 for that priority is to sell $200,000 and 65 homes. So that's your annual goal for that priority. So then in January, say, okay, what do I need to do this month in order to do that? I'm going to do a little quick math here. So 65 divided by 12. Okay, that's 5.4. So what I need to do in the month of January is I need to sell 6 homes sold to be on track to hit that goal of 65 homes at whatever my average sale price is. So that's your monthly goal. Okay, so that's measurable. You want your 411 to be something that's measurable. It's not just a to-do list. I mean, there's going to be some things on that. But the items on the 411 should be measurable. So you should be able to measure 1, because if you only sell 5, your 411 for your month of February is going to be, I need to sell 7 homes. Okay, you do really well. You may say, okay, in March I just need to sell 3 homes, but I would keep it at 6 just to kind of keep moving forward. So I need to sell 6 homes. So what do I need to do week 1? So these are your must-dos, okay? So, okay, this is measurable. This is perfect. I need to make 10 contacts a day. Okay? This week, I need to put 5 people in my database on, well, even before that, 5 people in my database on a touch. I need to learn how to put people in my database. So they have to put a contact in database. I need to learn how to build a touch, a drip, touch, whatever you want to call it. That's it. I mean, for that one role, for that week, okay, this is going to change it. Well, it shouldn't change. It should, probably every week, you make 10 contacts a day. So when you wake up and you come into the office to do this sector of your GPS, of your roadmap, This is where the discipline comes in. You don't spend your first hour checking emails. You don't spend your first hour. Those are your to-dos. Your 411 is your must-dos. Because if you spend your day, and I remember doing this in real estate all the time. I get to the office and I just felt busy. Oh, I got 5 pending. So I spent my whole day responding to title companies, calling the home inspector, drafting up a document, just staying busy. Everything was important, but it wasn't generating anything new. I was spending time being busy on important things. But the 411 is the must-dos. Okay, so I like to look at, when you're time blocking your week, I like to look as like, okay, first part of the day, I do the must-dos. I'm not saying I'm the best at this. I'm not. But I'm working on it. But you know, your first part of your day, when you got your highest amount of energy, it should be the things that you do. Because if you wait till 4 o'clock, and like, oh, I still got to make my 10 contacts. 9 times out of 10, you're going to say, I'll just do that tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, you didn't do your must-dos, which is going to generate the new leads. You know, because once something goes under a contract in real estate, once you've got a buyer and they bought a house that's under contract, any more time you spend on that doesn't make any more income. It still has to close. You still got to do those important things. But any time you spend on it doesn't make you anything additional. So if you're not spending time, blocking time, holding yourself accountable to generating new business by making 10 contacts a day, you know, what does our business look like really in real estate if we literally made sure that we had 10 conversations with 10 people every single day about real estate, saying, hey, here to help. Let me know if you need anything. You need anything right now? No? Okay. You know anybody who does? I'd love to help them. I've got a goal to help 5 families every month. Anybody from work, anybody from school that you know that might need the help right now? Oh, I'd love to call them. Oh, yeah, you know. So if you're having 10 conversations every day like that, what does our business look like? Then what does our life look like? Because if we're doing that, then we're having closings. And then we're having closing. Like, oh my gosh, I never thought I'd sell this much real estate. But if we wake up every day and we're just kind of unpurposefully doing whatever, you know, we don't have a map, then that's when we're kind of like, I don't know, this real estate thing isn't working out. This insurance thing isn't working out. So that's where the 411 tool comes into play, is around priority. And so you just got 3 priorities. So what do you need to do each week? And that's where the 411 comes in. And that gives you, you know, so different examples. So your 411 may be, you know, to generate that number of sales for real estate. Personal may be, I do a one-on-one trip with each of my kids this year. Okay, that's an annual goal. And what's your goal? Because here's an example of using the 411 for personal. I want to do a 3-day trip, 2 nights with each of my 3 kids. Okay, that's the annual goal. And what needs to happen in January? In January, I'm going to sit down with Colin, and I'm going to take him to lunch, and we're going to pick out where we're going to go and the date we're going to do it. That's all I got to do that month. That's what I need to do that week. My task for that week. Hey, Colin, when are you available to go to lunch so we can talk about our trip this year? That's all I got to do that week for that goal. It's just one, it's a lever. The things in the week are just little levers that you pull that make the thing happen in the month. Because you got 4 weeks to do it. So the only thing I got to accomplish that month is I got to go to lunch with Colin and we got to pick our dates and where we're going to go. That all happens in one meeting. So week 1 is I set the appointment. Week 2, I go on the lunch. Well, week 3, I'm done because we picked it at lunch. So now all of a sudden, it's on the calendar, it's date set. So the next month, what do? Oh, we're going to go on spring break. So that's March. It's February. What do I need to do my month in this? I need to book all the travel and the arrangements for the trip. If we can travel nowadays. Maybe just go in the basement and watch movies. I don't know. But so that's, you know, that's what you do that month is you book all the travel, and then in the next month it's go on the trip, and then all of a sudden you hit a third of the goal because there's 3 kids, and you've knocked one of the trips out. Now it's naturally the next 3 months you do the same thing with Cali, and the next one Madison. So that's an example of how to use the 411 for personal. Does that make sense? I mean, they are amazing tools, and they're very simple, and they're right here in front of you. So let's go back to, and we'll wrap up with this. Let's go back to the 6 steps to nailing it, because really the 6 steps is what makes it happen. I mean, it really is. So let's kind of tie that into our charity and then let's talk, is the big vision, let's then tie it back into the personal, the trip with the kids. I mean, I think those are 2 good examples of something that takes money, the charity, and something that takes discipline to happen. Because if you don't create a plan around 3 trips with your 3 kids, you're gonna get to December and you're like, oh man, that was a good wish. That would have been awesome. I wish that would have happened. That's all it's gonna be. But if you put a plan around it with these 2 tools, it's really just 2 tools, okay? That's where, once a year, you sit down, you know, why in the heck would we not take a personal retreat for 1 day, go to a state park and get a hotel room for a day? Mike Schoonover does that. He goes up and takes a day retreat and just visions and plans his life. You know, I hope that's okay, Mike, that I shared that. I did. If you don't like it, too bad. But it's awesome, you know, and that's being purposeful around our vision and our why and what we're trying to do. So we got to make that choice. We got to make the choice to design, to paint the picture that we want to paint, or we can just let everybody else paint our picture for us. And then we're just reacting, and then we're not building the life that we want to live. So give me 2 takeaways, and then we'll be done. So what's the takeaway, Ruthie?
My takeaway is that I'm showing the why and how to use the tools for my business. My takeaway is that I don't think I've ever taken a day completely shut off from everyone,
Yeah.
family, and focus on it.
Yeah.
Ask myself the right questions.
Yep.
So I'm gonna schedule it in next month to go do that.
Yeah. So what Ruthie said, because you probably couldn't hear, was just basically that, just, you know, taking that day to stop and focus and vision and plan what we want. So that's big. That's huge. I mean, that's a huge first step. You know, and what's cool is we got these tools to really just walk you through it. I mean, you know, you don't need anything else but a pad of paper and this, or a laptop. And then it's fun. I mean, you talk about a day of just diving in and getting clarity around, man, what do I want to create? I got a blank canvas in front of me. And one more takeaway. Anyone? Keegan?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting when we're talking about how your why changes, right? And it can change, and likely will. And it might change, just deviate a little bit. You might see a different form of that vision, or it might be completely different. And I haven't really thought about my why in years. I just moved back from Los Angeles, my family, and had a couple kids. And I mean, your kids and your why instantly changes, right? Your what for, everything changes. But the why is still very similar to what it was when I thought of it before a wife and kids. It might actually be a pretty good idea when it does all come back to the why, like maybe an annual trip, like every single, like 1 day out of the year, that is like, this is my why day. Every single year,
Yeah.
to just recalibrate, take a look at it, like, is the vision the same? Has it changed? How has it changed? What's caused that to change? Like, actually reflect on it, because and we just run around in circles all the time, don't we? Like, we stay busy, and we think we're really, really doing what we need to be doing, but I mean, 99% of my life for the last 10 years has been reacting.
Yeah.
Reacting. I'm gonna start my business. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna react. I need to move to LA. Now that I'm in LA, I need to react to this. React to freaking traffic just to get to the office, right? It's like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. You move back and you think, man, I gotta recalibrate. That's the reason I'm here. So it definitely goes back to the why, but also like what you said, I think it's very true for all of us. Is even if you figure out what your why is today, maybe annually, like revisit that and make sure it's still the same, because when it does change, you're gonna, all the low level day-to-day stuff changes too.
And what that also does is it also gives you time to evaluate, are you on track? That's one of the biggest things in business. We get busy and we don't even know if we're on track where we're trying to go because we're so busy. So I think that's a great idea, is pause, stop, evaluate, and like, hey, am I on track? Am I on pace to get where I want? So yeah, that's a great point. Did you have?
I was just gonna say, moving into a new role recently, in housing production, I followed my role religiously when I was in production.
Yeah.
I hadn't do it yet.
Right.
I'm going back to like, that's probably why I just fired out all day again, because.
Yeah.
I was like running without it.
Well, you know,
again.
yeah. I mean,
I haven't taken time to sit down, like, view responsibilities to say, oh, like, it's totally different.
yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a tom-tom for our whatever we're trying to do. So if the course changes, if there's a new destination, like you just said, you got a new destination, you don't have your map, you just got to go, and you're not going to go on a trip without a map. And, you know, we don't have a tom-tom for what we're doing, so we got to create the map. We got to go old school. We got to go back to the paper map.
I'd say it's a little bit like a fluid tire.
Yeah, right.
Still trying to change it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get back to Virginia.
Buffy.
One of the things that, like, Dave Ramsey talks about is getting like buy-in from your spouse and your family, because if
Yeah.
you have a map and a destination and a goal, but they're not included on that, it might be hard to get their buy-in on how much time you're spending on this, or why they should be on a budget. Who cares, you know, they don't want to follow your budget. So, one way of doing that is to bring together in high definition and, you know, make sure that they know what is going to benefit them, and that is why, to help, so that they have input on, you know, it's not just your plan, but it's their plan to help with their side. It's really hard to do by yourself.
Yeah, and it's not as fun. I mean, if you got a partner, and what Buffy said, for those that are online and watching the recording, is basically, you know, if you've got a partner or a family, you know, that bring them along on this ride, bring them along on this vision, because they're going to be a part of that. And if they don't understand your vision of what you're doing, then it's going to be a little harder to get there, maybe. So, thanks, guys, for coming today. I hope you picked up something, and hope it was helpful. If you ever have any questions or anything I can ever do, let me know. And thanks for watching. And if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching the recording. We are out. See ya.
Thanks, Craig.